I understood the challenge that was there ahead of me. Probably, I know Rangers had been watching me more or less every game, and I knew that when the gaffer signed me that I had his backing. I always felt I had his trust. But there was better players ahead of me. There's no doubt about it. There was guys, established internationals, getting paid way more than me. But I felt as I had the manager's trust. I also culminated in a load of injuries, and I think I got a load of injuries because I do think that the training became really challenging. You know, for me, the training Monday to Friday was tougher than the games
because of the standard of player you're playing against.
Yeah. You know, no disrespect who we were playing, but I learned and I improved every day in training. But there was also an increase in tempo. An increase on the stresses in your body and all the rest of it. I picked up ankle injuries, knee injuries, hernias, fractured my cheekbone. I had loads of injuries at Rangers that didn't really help me. But I also felt that when I was fit, that I never let the club down. I always tried to repay the manager's trust in signing me and picking me. And probably the 9-0 season was probably the season I played most games, you know, in terms of just because I stayed injury free right up until February when I done my knee, and then the gaffer brought me in for the last game at Tannadice, which was a real surprise after I hadn't hardly trained. So there's no shame. I look back at it now and I think I wish I'd played more and I wish I'd done more. And I think if Walter had been there and he hadn't left, then I probably would have stayed at Rangers longer. But I think there's still life after Rangers. I went on to play abroad and play at West Brom, played for Scotland after that. So I love my time there. But I don't regret. I think I gave it my best shot. I'll be honest with that, and that sits all right with me, to be honest.
Yeah, his photographs up there because I hold him in such high esteem. I loved my end of season chats with him, coffee, and we'd shoot the breeze on football when I was working at Radio Clyde. And even as a person after that, he was great to me. What was he like as a gaffer?
Brilliant. I will say I didn't have the same relationship with the gaffer as a player as I did as a lot of the other players who had been with him for years and years and had built so many experiences and history together. But he was always someone, both him and Archie. Archie comes a lot in my games, Rugby Park, and I was with him last week. Both him and the gaffer were brilliant in terms of level of support. I always felt that they trusted me. You know, when I signed the Rangers, it was a big deal for my dad as well, and I've said before how special he made that day for my dad as well. When I was away doing my medical, giving him the tour and looking after him, I think he sensed it was a big deal for him. So all these wee little touches, he was great. But I think as a manager, I got to know the gaffer a lot more as a manager.
Yeah.
Because he was my first phone call whenever I needed anything. Obviously come up against his teams loads of times at St Johnstone. And I just built up a kind of better and stronger relationship as a manager rather than being his player. I think he liked me. And if he did, I liked him a lot more, to be honest. And we still talk about it, we still miss him. It's like, it still doesn't seem right that he's not here. It still doesn't quite sit, and sometimes you have to take a wee check that he actually isn't with us anymore.
Yeah. Let me look at that side that you were in, though. You said it was tough in training. Yeah. How the hell did you survive with the madness of the pranksters that were in that side? I mean, I read a great quote for you at one point. You said you thought you were Ali McCoy's driver.
Well, Coy still tell anybody when he get done with his drunk driving, he's a naughty boy, that Ali. He says he got me a year extension so he could drive me in and out of training. And by the way, if that is true, I'll take it. I wasn't going anywhere. But it was a great bunch of boys.
Did they have an influence on you? Because you've mentioned Durant, you've mentioned Gascoigne. I mean, two fantastic players.
I just wanted to be accepted, really. You're going into a dressing room with serial winners, international players, and you just want to be able to be accepted, not for being just a good trainer, a good guy, and their pal. I wanted to make my mark on them and have their trust on them on the pitch. And it bothered me that it took me a long time to really kind of establish myself and play and feel as though I got that confidence. But we had some brilliant times together. You know, it's like day in, day out. There was always something happening. It was box office at Rangers at the time, you know, and it was never always easy because we were up against a challenge from Celtic and Tommy's team in particular, and but I think that there was always a feeling that there was a better level of player in the Rangers dressing room, and we get the confidence for that. Plus, we were led brilliantly with the gaffer, but on and off the pitch, there's this. You can't be as it sounds sometimes if it was all unprofessional. They were out every night. We weren't out every night. We stayed in on a Monday.
I have to say to you, by the way, that irked the gaffer.
Aye.
Because Walter used to say to me, you cannot win league titles by partying all the time. These guys knew when to put it in, and then they knew when to...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen players train, you know, your McCoys, your Gascoignes, Goffs, train at such an elite level and knock their pan in. But there was a time to enjoy themselves and a time to, you know, and, you know, that resonated with me. You know, I didn't have their talent, so I was like constantly that guy battering himself, trying to get improvement, trying to be stronger, trying to be quicker, trying to be as professional as I could be. But you were always drawn to the nights out and the days out together. But that was encouraged. But it wouldn't have been. It would only have been on the back of winning and working hard.
Yeah.
I spoke to Archie about our training the other day. Some of the stuff that we did in training, you know, pre-season work, that base work, going to Italy, Choco, and you know, it was such a demand. I look at the pre-seasons I'm giving my players now, and I know football's moved on, but it was nowhere near at a level of demand on you. And that's what there was. There was a demand. There was a demand to train right and be as good as you could be, but there was also a demand to be a proper teammate and get yourself out with your teammates when you needed to be. You know, and,
Has that brushed off on you now? I mean, as you look at all the managers you've worked with, I know you've worked down south with Gary Megson as well, Walter. Did it have an impact on the way you conduct yourself now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started to change. I think even in the gaffers last year at Rangers, but then obviously Advocaat comes in, and it was frowned upon a wee bit more. There was more players not going out than going out, and all of a sudden there's a wee group of us who were maybe the kind of not the majority in the dressing room. There was different level of player and professional coming in. There was getting up a level, your Newmans and Van Bronckhorst and all these boys.
Yeah.
And it was frowned upon then a bit too many nights out, and you had to be serious about your work and serious about your training. And it was just a different manager's take on it. But I actually think it was going that way.
Did you take to him?
As well, Advocaat? No, really. I thought he was more brasher than he needed to be. He had his favourite. He used to tell you, "This is my strongest team."
Yeah.
And he says, if they're fit, they'll play. And Big Alberts wasn't in it. I wasn't in it. There was loads more in it, no in it. But it was Van Bronckhorst, Claudio, Reina and Barry. Barry thrived under him. Barry, he saw so much in Barry. He was different class, Fergie. A top player, as good a player I've played with. Neil McCann, Rod Wallace, Kanchelskis. If these boys were fit, they played.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he used to say, "You are well paid to be ready." And he used to give us a bonus, even if we're sitting in the stand, we still got full bonus.
Wow.
One of things went wrong, but I mean the money that the gaffer was getting. I mean, obviously David Murray was backing Dick Advocaat, and it didn't. I didn't think that he utilised the squad enough or embraced the squad enough, and then he just expected boys to be there for him.
Yeah. You had a few fallouts with him, didn't you?
No, not really.
You don't have to say them one day, you know, about the...
No, I didn't fall out with him. I think I wanted to go on loan, and he refused at first. Eventually I got my loan to Stockport with Gary Megson in the Championship. He then brings me back in January, even though I wanted to stay out. I wasn't convinced I was going to play. But then he sent me a letter. Obviously this has been well documented as well.
Yeah.
I remember Charlie phoned me close season, and he said, "I just had a letter for the club saying that after the report with the reserves, I'm no longer part of the first team."
Yeah, that was the point I was making, yeah.
Aye, and I'm like, "You're kidding?" And I says, no. He says, have you got any post yet? And I said, no. And literally just at the postman comes to the house. So I goes, same letter. And he's laughing. He's like, thank God it's not just me. But 3 weeks before that, I'd started in the cup final in Celtic.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, we're all throwing him up and celebrating with him.
You should have dropped him.
He didn't even have the, no courage, but the decency to say, look, this is the way we're going to see it for next season. We're going to try and sell you, bring some money in for you, and for you to play regular, go elsewhere. Just an honest, decent conversation.
Yeah.
To hide behind a letter from Laura, the secretary. So I phoned Laura, and she was appalled that she was having to send these letters out to guys that had done well, and but then trained with the reserves and all the rest of it. But then he invited me back into the first team and part of the fold, and played a few Champions League games after that. But I left in the January. I think the chairman, David Murray, was determined to get some money in for me, rather than just let my contract run down. And I went to Toulouse and, West Rangers well, and we moved on. But I never ever felt important enough to Advocaat. And I think it's important for me as a manager that to make all your players feel important. Obviously it's difficult because you can only pick 11 every week.
Yeah.
But having those conversations with players who are not playing every week and try to make them feel inclusive, try to make them feel valued. And I do think, and I've still got above my board before I go out, make them feel important. It's the last thing I look at before I go out every day. And I recognised that how I felt when a manager took the time to, for 5 minutes, just a word, and to show that they gave a shit about you, and they came in, and how that meant everything to me. But I also remember how it felt the other way when a manager couldn't even talk to you, and so I don't want to be that guy. So you learn off everybody. So even the managers I didn't particularly get on with, that you learn off them how you don't want to be.
Yeah, absolutely.